Barakada Yahweh, Barakada Yahushai, Bahasham, Barakaha Gwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video. And in this video, I'll be profiling a little bit of this clip from Jeremiah Babe's YouTube channel titled, Society is Collapsing. What Happens When People Get Hungry? Collapse of the American Empire. And some of the points Jeremiah Babe's gonna play in the segment of talk about in the segment of this video I'm about to play can be perfectly lined up with the scriptures. Hey, we are quickly coming into the full times of Jacob's trouble, to where it's going to be all anarchy and chaos out here. Friends are going to become enemies. There are going to be famines, pestilences, race wars, civil war, martial law, mass death in the streets. And the only ones that are going to have a protective hedge over them to make it through it are going to be the elect of the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel consisting of your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathen nations. So like we always tell you, sincere Akim and Akwat out there that have come across the truth and the Most High has opened your mind to understand these things, you better be doing everything you can right now to continue to stay in the good graces of your power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, because they're the only thing that's going to get us through these terrible times of Jacob's trouble to come. No prepping, martial arts skills, gun skills, or anything like that. Anything carnal is not going to get us through it. And to the wicked of our people out there, and hey, you heathens, which have no hope anyway, hey, you're about to get the full brunt of the wrath of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai for all the iniquity you've been committing. But without further ado, let's play a little bit of this clip. And I'm going to start the video at the 2-minute and 36-second mark. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Oh, shifting gears now, let's get into what's been going on. A few things have been taking place over the weekend. We're watching society literally break down and decay. Many of you have probably been watching some of the same videos I have with what's happening in Chicago. Thousands of teens running wild, jumping on cars, breaking out windshields, destroying cars. Chicago police having to escort tourists to their hotels. It is unbelievable what we are watching take place in society right now, this societal breakdown that's taking place. And I don't know where their parents are. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Somebody the other day said that, they like my channel, but...
Real quick, let's go to our first precept in Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And when we go into that word iniquity in the Strongs, it's G458, anomia. And in the outline of biblical usage, it reads, the condition of without law, because ignorant of it, because of violating it, contempt and violation of law, iniquity, and wickedness. And hey, we're seeing, a lot of these people out here, especially these teens among the tribes of Israel, a lot of the Judites, known as the so-called Negroes or your so-called African Americans out here, in a lawless state out here, carjacking people, as Jeremiah Babe just said, up in Chicago, jumping on cars, ramshacking Walmarts, and they're not being stopped. And why? Because there are police shortages out here, and the police that are on duty are just being completely overwhelmed by it and just letting it happen because they can't do anything about it. We truly are in a state of iniquity, lawlessness, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. And a lot of these things were exacerbated a couple of years ago during those George Floyd protests, because what were their calls for? defund the police, and a lot of police departments were defunded. And then just with all the pressure a lot of police were getting due to the George Floyd situation and just a bunch of other situations out here, a lot of them have left the force en masse. And again, it's only going to continue and exacerbate out here. And as it said, because iniquity or lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. These people are going to get more diabolical out here and more callous. And besides Chicago being in a state of chaos right now, down here in New Orleans is also in a state of chaos. It comes out every night showing that there's been another carjacking, multiple killings, graping is getting big down here, etc., etc.
But there's other channels that are more specific, and I'm more broad. I don't get specific with what's going on. And I will tell you this, I think I get extremely specific because I'm going to tell you right now specifically, as this economy continues to decay and erode, you're going to watch the erosion of society. And with that, it's going to get very, very dangerous. And this is why those channels never...
And because iniquity, state of lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Talk about security. Those channels never tell you about how and why you better be preparing. And I'm telling you right now specifically that you better be getting ready. Nothing has really happened.
And there's only one true way to get prepared and be ready. Be an Israelite of that elect number, relying on Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai and this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to get us through it. This is Isaiah 33, verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and the strength of what? Salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Like I said earlier, no stockpiles of ammunition, food preps, MMA skills, or anything like that. It's going to get you through these terrible times of Jacob's trouble. It's going to be the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. That's going to be the strength of salvation and the stability during these times of Jacob's trouble. But I will say this, there's nothing wrong with, getting yourself in better shape. If you're out of shape, working out a little bit, running, as it says, exercise profited little in the scriptures. It doesn't help to, get yourself in better shape and eat better and put a little food to the side and get some home defense weapons. But the key thing is not to let that be the sole thing you rely on to get you through these times we're coming into. This is Psalms 33, verses 16 to 19. There is no king save by the multitude of an host. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength. And a horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. So anything that's carnal out here, guns, skills you may have, as it says in verse 16, even a king's army can't deliver you. But, as it says in verse 18, behold, the eye of Yahweh is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy, that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding being the strength of salvation, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine, point blank period. It's going to be through the will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai that's going to get the hopeful elect, which Abaratazah, I'm of that number, through these times of Jacob's trouble.
Yet. Nothing has really gone off the rails yet. They've been able to keep printing money and keeping the whole facade going. But at some point, when people get hungry, when enough people lose their jobs, when they cut enough benefits and people's kids are starving, when people really get angry, and they're not just doing this sort of thing for entertainment, when they actually get mad, look at how bad this is going to be. If it's this bad right now, people are just doing this for fun and entertainment. Imagine what this is going to look like, especially in the cities when people get angry. This is concerning, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to be very, very specific here because people think I don't get specific enough. You better be getting ready. You better have real security. You better have the right tools. You better have the skill set. You better have the mindset. You better be training right now, getting your body in better shape, getting your tactics in better shape. Because when they can no longer...
You better have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, the strength of salvation.
Go to the Walmarts and steal from the Walmarts because they've closed, and the Walgreens in the areas have closed, and enough stores closed that they just can't steal from.
A little bit.
Have the right tools. You better have the skill set. You better have the mindset. You better be training right now, getting your body in better shape, getting your tactics in better shape. Because when they can no longer go to the Walmarts and steal from the Walmarts because they've closed, and the Walgreens in the areas have closed, and enough stores closed that they just can't steal from, well, then they're going to go to your neighborhood, and they're coming to your house, and then they're going to come into your house. And you have to think,
hey, Jeremiah Babe was prophesying on the slick because everything he just said is stated in the scriptures. This is Isaiah 24, verses 10 to 11. The city of confusion is broken down. And confusion in the Hebrew is what? Babel, Babylon, a confusion by mixture. And the United States of America in the scriptures is known as Babylon the Great, that virgin daughter, that great whore in Revelation chapter 17. So as it says, the city of confusion, America, is broken down, and we can clearly see that this place is breaking down on every level, economically, morally, and militarily. Hey, all her allies are starting to turn against her and look at ways to circumvent the US dollar. Her military is spread thin, and then this country is just full of degenerates out here. You got the alphabet people, you got our people that are into, so-called black culture, thug and hip hop culture. These Edomites out here are just degenerates in general. Everything is just in a state of decay. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. And what did Jeremiah Babe say? When these Walmarts and Walgreens are closed, and these different stores are gonna close out here, as they already are. We saw a lot of these businesses close down during the C19 situation back in the end of 2019 to 2021. And what are we seeing also? A lot of Walmarts starting to close down too, which the reasoning they're saying is because of theft. But we know that there's a bigger reasoning behind it. Hey, they're getting those places prepared for the big event. Just look at what Walmart is backwards. A lot of those places are going to be holding more than just goods for people to buy, be holding people in detention that no man may come in. Again, just these businesses continuing to shut down. Then on top of that, these store shelves becoming emptier and emptier, people getting desperate. And as Jeremiah Babe said, they're going to, once they see they can't get anything out of those stores, they're going to start coming to the neighborhoods. Verse 11, there is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. And that wine isn't talking about literal wine or alcohol. It's talking about understanding. People are going to be looking for answers out here to try to figure out what they can do to save themselves. But if you don't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, you're going to be asked out here. And hey, you're going to follow after what the elites push on you to bring society back to so-called normal, which is what? Receiving that haragma in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18 inside your body, that RFID/NFC, C-HIP, IMPLANT. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 6. I'm going to read verses 22 to 24. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. These storehouses like what? Your Walmarts, your Walgreens, Winn-Dixies, Targets, Publix, rouses, etc., suddenly being found empty. On the one hand, people just stealing stuff out of those stores. And then on the other hand, supply chain disruptions, not allowing those goods to get to those stores. And what have we been seeing over the last year or so? A lot of these food processing plants mysteriously burning down or getting destroyed, which is further going to bring about these food shortages out here, these famines. And then also, as it said, suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. You've had adverse weather events in this country destroying farmers' croplands and hindering their ability to plant a sufficient amount of crops. Mega droughts in the western half of the country and massive floods in the eastern half. So what's that going to play into? Those storehouses suddenly being found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. And what could cause that? Food shortages out here. You're seeing you go to the store and either the store shelves are empty or hyperinflation has just hit so hard that you can't afford what's in the stores. So what? You're going to start looking at your neighbors. You're going to start breaking into their houses, taking their goods to feed you and your family. Remember, back in Matthew 24, verse 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Hey, there's going to come a point, too, to where the water's going to get cut off. You can't use your toilet, your faucet, your shower, anything. And that's just going to create a whole host of other issues out here. But before I get into 2 Esdras 15, I'm going to let Jeremiah Babe talk a little bit more.
What am I going to do? Am I prepared? Do I have the mindset, the training, the tools, the security to deal with this? Because the police aren't going to be there to help you. They're going to be helping their own families, or they're going to just be so overrun that they're just not going to be able to help you. So make sure that you are preparing for the worst case scenario. People are going to get angry, they're going to get hungry, they're going to get desperate. And when the stores are completely empty.
And suddenly shall the full storehouses be found empty, and at that time shall friends, best friends, family members, blood brothers, blood sisters fight one against another like enemies.
They're coming to the houses. So be ready for that. They get hungry, they're going to get desperate. And when the stores are completely empty, they're coming to the houses. So
now let's get into 2 Esdras 15. This is 2 Esdras chapter 15. I'm going to read verses 15 to 19. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And that one people standing up and fighting against another can go into a whole host of things. One race of people standing up and fighting against another. Race wars, which is spoken about in the scriptures, Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. And one nation, a nation shall fight against nation. A political classes of people fighting against each other. Liberals against conservatives, red versus blue. Class warfare with the rich against the poor. A people fighting against the government. Sedition, which it goes into in the next verse. And what? Just people fighting against each other because of food shortages out here. They're getting at how they live. And that sword, hey, what's that modern day sword in the United States of America? The gun. And during those George Floyd protests, during that summer of rage, you saw an uptick in first-time gun owners. And those guns aren't just going to sit in those cases. Hey, they're going to be getting used on the streets of America. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men. And the definition for the word sedition is conduct or speech inciting open rebellion against a ruling authority or monarch. Hey, there's going to be civil unrest in this country as well, as it says in Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, the modern day spiritual Egyptians being these American Edomites, because besides being known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, America is also known as spiritual Egypt and Sodom, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. And it's not just going to be these Edomites in a seditious spirit in America. It's going to be all you other people, other nations, you heathens and you Israelites, you honorary Egyptians being in a seditious spirit as well, fighting each other in a free-for-all and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. And your modern day kings and princes are these people in the government, mayors, senators, governors, presidents, prime ministers, and the authorities like the police and the military that uphold the system. When the chips are down, these people aren't going to regard any of that. They're going to be fighting against them as well, not regarding their power, a iniquity abounding, people violating the law and having a contempt for it. And what did Jeremiah Babe say? Once things really start getting popping off out here, the police won't be able to stop it because what? They'll be worried about their own families, or they'll just be overwhelmed, manpower shortages. And brother down here was in New Orleans during Katrina, and he said he saw at different grocery stores before Katrina hit and things got really bad that the police stopped people from going in there. They went in there first and got their goods and then said, hey, get what's left. And a lot of those police took off those badges and just became regular citizens because they knew they wouldn't have been able to keep law and order down here during Katrina. It's going to be no different during these times we're coming into. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Every man's going to do what's right in his eyes in these days. And hey, the love of many is going to wax cold. These people are going to be in a barbaric, dog-eat-dog spirit. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. What does that sound like? A state of martial law. These cities in such a chaotic state that they bring in the military and shut them down. And you're going to have the right registration, the right identification to get into the city, move around in the city, or leave the city. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And I believe it's 2 Esdras chapter 8, verse 50 that says, many great miseries shall be done to them in the latter times because they have walked in great pride. These terrible things that are coming are the judgments of Yahweh Bahasham Yahabushai on you people for the great pride, the arrogance you've been walking in. That pride is going to be quickly humbled when you just see the great terror that Yahweh Bahasham Yahabushai is about to unleash. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and with that gun, along with whatever else people are going to have their hands on in that day. Literal swords, knives, bats, chains, Molotov cocktails, brass knuckles, etc., etc., but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, food shortages, famines, the full storehouses suddenly being found empty. As Jeremiah Babe said, when these Walmarts and these other places are empty, they're going to go from there to the neighborhoods, into your houses, spoil your goods, having no pity upon you.
Be ready for that. But again, watching some of these videos it's alarming. It's so disturbing. And being somebody who grew up in Chicago and watching this, it's unbelievable to look at this stuff that looks like it's coming out of a movie. Another video this weekend was a convenience store in Compton, California. Hundreds of teens ran into this store and just took everything, wiped it out within minutes. I've never seen a time.
And who do you think the majority of those teens were there and in Chicago ransacking those Walmarts? It's so-called black teens, Judite teens, Israelites, running buck wild out here. That's also a part of prophecy. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 17. And the land of Judah, the Judites being the so-called Black Americans, African Americans, shall be a terror unto Egypt, spiritual Egypt, the United States of America. Hey, these Judites are going to be a terror unto you Edomites in America. And we're seeing it right now with these teens just carjacking, killing, robbing these places, running buck wild. And hey, the Northern Kingdom, the Most High is gonna put a spirit on them as well. The Northern Kingdom, consisting of the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, to link up with the Southern Kingdom, and they're gonna, they're gonna run roughshod on you Edomites and other heathens in America too. And one thing I've noticed down here in New Orleans is that there's been a heavy influx of the Northern Kingdom coming into this city to do work and stuff like that. And a lot of their teens, while you see the older generations, they kind of keep to themselves and, kind of keep with those old school traditions. You're seeing the teens picking up what? Black and hip hop culture and linking up with the teens of the Southern Kingdom. Hey, the Most High is strategic with everything he does. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself because of the counsel of Yahweh of hosts, which he hath determined against it. These are all the judgments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai coming down the pipeline to judge you people for the great pride you've walked in.
In society where people just don't care. They just don't care. And they're willing to take things to the next level. You look at what's happening with the police. They are ready to get into a gunfight literally over a speeding ticket.
They shall not regard their kings nor princes.
They are ready to take it to the next level. People have just no respect for the law. They have no respect for citizens. They have,
because iniquity, lawlessness shall abound.
No respect for anything good at this point. It is do what thou will. They will do whatever they want to do. The hedge today, commercial real estate.
That's it with this clip. I'm going to close it out in Jeremiah 30, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. The times we're coming into are going to be worse than any other point in human history. Worse than the flood during Noah's time. Worse than 70 AD, the transatlantic slave trade, World War I, World War II, you name it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And that he is speaking of the elect of the nation of Israel that's going to have that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai to be the strength of salvation to get them through these terrible times we're quickly coming into. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.